following is a Novus Renaissance audio production.
Section 4. Hubris, the fourth heresy. Can we come up with a novel Tolkien never wrote and do it as the mega event series that could only happen now? Patrick McKay. The fourth counter. The showrunners kindle a dangerous and envious pride. The type that reeks of the first Dark Lord Morgoth, once upon a time named Melkor, he who arises in might. Thus Tolkien spake. And he, Melkor, feigned even to himself at first, that he desired to go hither and order all things for the good of the children of Iluvatar, controlling the turmoils of the heat and the cold that had come to pass through him. But he desired rather to subdue to his will both elves and men, envying the gifts with which Iluvatar promised to endow them. And he wished himself to have subjects and servants to be called. This sinister design of McKay and his colleague not only aligns with a mortal sin that fundamentally changes the craft of Professor Tolkien's Canon and the spectacular secondary world, but it also bears an uncanny resemblance to the tactics Melkor would later use to enslave, corrupt, and break the firstborn children of Iluvatar, the Elves. But of those unhappy ones who were ensnared by Melkor, little is known of a certainty. For who the living has descended into the pits of Untumno Outmode, or has explored the darkness of the councils of Melkor? Yet this is true by the wise of Heresy, that all of those of the Kindi who came into the hands of Melkor, ere Tumno, was broken, were put there in prison, and by slow arts of cruelty were corrupted and enslaved. And thus Melkor did breed the hideous race of Orcs in envy and mockery of the Elves, of who they were afterwards the bitterest foes. For the Orc had life and multiplied after the manner of the children of Iluvatar, and naught that had life of its own, nor the semblance of life, could ever Melkor make since this rebellion in Ayulindale before the beginning. So say the wise, and deep in their dark hearts the Orcs loathed the master whom they served in fear, the maker only of their misery. Thus it may be the vilest deed of Melkor and the most hateful to Iluvatar. It is in the same spirit of hubris of Melkor that appears to run through the very veins of Payne and McKay, who have lured the orthodox fans, the children of Tolkien, into a wide net of expectations at present, only to later draw that net tight, spring the trap, and entangle fans who hoped the story would be true into a hideous web of corruption and mockery that will drive the poor souls to watch the series, driven by a loathing hatred of it, but unable to withdraw from it after having invested heart, soul, and hope of what it could have been. Like the Orcs, who loathe the master whom they served in fear, viewers of the Rings of Power shall loathe the show they watched with a fool's hope. For the chief power of all the rings alike was the preventing or slowing of decay, i.e., change viewed as a regrettable thing. The preservation of what is desired or loved, or its semblance, is more or less an elvish motive. But also, they enhance the natural power of a possessor, thus approaching magic, a motive easily corruptible into evil, a lust for domination. Furthermore, the heresy of hubris is the most damning, for it is the single vice that binds all persons developing the rings of power to the supremacy of a will that is anti-Tolkien, ironically leading to the very destruction of the beloved treasure the Theyocracy of the machine claims to cherish. If these motives are premeditated instead of an ignorant circumstance, then such actions are more than a heresy. They are an abominable, accursed apostasy.